This is Masha Slamovich, and if I love wrestling, and you love wrestling, then we love wrestling.
Welcome to the We Love Wrestling spot. My name is Terry. Today, we are with a wrestler who's in Tokyo at this time. We're with someone who's Russian dynamite. We're with Masha Slamovich. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you doing?
I'm doing good myself. First thing that we're going to do before we get into it is we bring people on, and always we do what I call a put yourself over moment. That's where we ask you to go ahead and tell the people any of your social media, any ways they can support you, anything that you have going. We just ask you to put yourself over for our viewers.
All right. Well, if you're listening, you can find me on social media at Instagram and Twitter at Masha Slamovich. I also have a Pro Wrestling Tees store, which is prowrestlingtees.com/Masha Slamovich. And for all of the fun and exclusive content, you can find me at patreon.com/Masha Slamovich. And for all of my non-t-shirt related merchandise, like 8x10s, pins, like phone fobs and stuff like that, you can just direct message me on Patreon, Twitter, or Instagram for all of that good stuff.
All right. Like to see that. So the first question I do always ask here is, what started your love for wrestling, or why do you love wrestling?
You know, I don't really know what exactly made me fall in love with wrestling, but I was like a really, really young kid, like 3 or 4 years old. And, you know, I saw wrestling on TV, and it was just something that mesmerized me. And within like the first 5 minutes, I knew that that was what I was going to do when I grew up. And I told my mother that, and obviously she thought I was full of shit, but clearly I wasn't. So here we are.
All right. Well, growing up watching wrestling, who were some of your favorite wrestlers?
Oh, I loved watching Chris Benoit. I loved watching The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. I thought Rey Mysterio was pretty awesome too. And then I started discovering more of like the older wrestling, you know, when like stuff that wasn't on TV. So I started falling in love with like more and more older performers who were not wrestling in like the 2000s anymore. For example, like Dynamite Kid and Tiger Mask and all that good stuff.
Okay. So you have an interesting story with the pandemic just happening. So my view, I know the story, but the viewers who are watching may not know this. So could you just tell us how your pandemic has been going? Because before the pandemic started, you actually had a tryout and great things was happening. Then the pandemic happening. And can you let the people know what that actually has you doing at this time?
So basically, in August or September of 2019, I had a tryout to come over to Japan and wrestle for Marvelous. And I found out in December of 2019 that I was chosen and that I would be coming over here as soon as my paperwork was ready. So sometime in January. And actually, a year ago to this very day was the day that I arrived in Japan in 2020. So I came here for a 3-month tour. Originally, that was scheduled to be from the end of January to the end of April. But in mid-March, like before all the crazy pandemic stuff started going on, they offered me to stay in Japan and to continue training and doing shows and all that stuff. And I accepted. And that's when the pandemic happened and everything here went into like, what was it? The state of emergency. So pretty much from the end of March, so we had April off pretty much because we weren't really doing anything. And then May and June, we were doing dojo tapings. So we weren't wrestling in front of a live audience. We were wrestling, you know, live streaming from our dojo, like doing full shows, but just with no people. And on July 6th, we finally had our comeback to live audience shows. And ever since then, for the last like 6 or 7 months, we've been thankfully we've been doing pretty well. We've been on the road. We've wrestled Sendai, Nagoya, Osaka, aside from all of our regular shows in Tokyo at different venues. So it's been, I can't really complain. It's been a pretty good time these last couple of months.
Okay. So being over there for extended amount of time, can I ask you what are maybe 4 things that you miss that you can't get over there in Japan?
Okay. Well, things that I can name on camera versus things that I cannot name on camera. um, um, I would definitely have to say bagels are like really hard to come across here, and so is pizza, because those are like not really popular foods here. So I guess those are 2 of the things that, me being a New Yorker, I'm just like, this is a travesty. I can't live without these things. Um, I miss my friends and my family. So I guess those are my 4 things. Like, honestly, I really don't miss a lot about America because I love Japan so much. Like, I love the food, the culture, like everything. I'm like, there's not much left to be missing.
Oh, okay. Well, let's go to why you're here today. So, on February 6th in Buda, Texas, you will be coming to America for the Mission Pro Wishes Granted show. First, well, how do you feel about coming back since you haven't been here in so long?
Well, I'm sure it's going to be, like a good opportunity. And obviously, it's going to be a good time to catch up with friends and family. But, if it was up to me, I wouldn't be coming back. But this is not exactly my choice. This is more of like a paperwork issue. So I have to go back. But, I take things as they come. I believe that everything happens for a reason. So I believe that this was meant to happen for like whatever reason. I'm embracing it. I'm just gonna do as many shows as possible all over the place. So if anybody's listening, I'm accepting bookings now in America. So that's pretty much my goal when I come back, and then hopefully as soon as possible I'll be returning to Japan.
Oh, okay. Now, interesting that you're in Japan, and you're coming from Mission Pro. Well, I'll come back to that. But at Mission Pro, you'll be facing Promise Braxton and Black Cat. Have you been able to watch any of their matches?
I believe the other girl's name was Black Widow, not Black
Black
Cat.
Widow. Black Widow. Sorry about that. Black Widow. She had the mask and everything.
Yeah, I actually haven't seen any of either of their work. I've heard a lot of things about Promise Braxton. I've heard some of the stuff she was saying on other podcasts or interviews or whatever, and I've heard absolutely nothing from Black Widow aside from like some promo that a fan sent me, and those are some really colorful statements. Be they not directed at me, there were some colorful statements nonetheless.
I've been looking for Black Widow. I haven't seen her. Promise Braxton, I can say she's very confident. So I'm expecting a good match there. But something else that was interesting to me, you wanted to try out and you've been training there at Marvelous the last year. The current Mission Pro champion also had a stint at Marvelous back in her time. Would you be looking like after you make this first debut getting back on Mission Pro? Because I think it would be interesting to see you versus La Rosa Negra, who also was at Marvelous, but and it'd be like 2 different time frames, 2 people going up against each other.
I absolutely look forward to coming back to Mission Pro after my debut, because I assure you, me just coming and taking down 2 members of the roster is not going to be enough for me, because there's a whole roster that I'm waiting to get my hands on.
Ooh, I hope you guys are ready. I've been watching a little bit. I'm excited about this. And you said you was going to be doing as many shows as you can. So I did see you got announced for, is it New Texas Pro or?
Yes, New Texas Pro.
Okay, New Texas Pro, February 27th. I don't know what match you're gonna have as of yet, but I've seen the people that they're naming on the card, so I expect probably another good match to come out of that for you. Now I do want to ask this to you. I seen some of your work when you was in the New York area before on Title Match Network. Is there anyone that you could say that you haven't faced in your time since you've been there in Japan that when you come back here that you would like to face?
Most certainly. I am looking forward to facing a whole handful of people. One of them being a member of the Mission Pro roster, Sienna or Allison Kay.
Oh.
Definitely looking forward to that getting booked one day because it would be a travesty if it wasn't. Layla Hirsch, somebody who what do you say, partakes in AEW, is definitely a matchup that is criminal, that has not happened yet in this entire time. And then, of course, there's the entire men's division that I'm still waiting to get my hands on because we know Masha Slamovich loves herself some intergender wrestling. You know, I've taken on a couple of guys in Japan. If I can handle the men over here, the men of America ain't going to be shit to me.
There it is. Well, I can't. Let me move past that. I'm not gonna say I want nobody mad at me. She said it, people. Book her in a match, intergender wrestling. Yeah, we can see what happens. So since you've been training at Marvelous, who trained you before you actually tried out to go over to Marvelous? Who got you started with wrestling?
So I was originally trained by WWE Hall of Famer Johnny Rodz in the world of unpredictable wrestling in Brooklyn, New York. And after I came to Japan the first time and then left, did independence, went up to Canada and all this other stuff. Right before I left to Marvelous, I was actually training with Amazing Red at House of Glory as well for a little bit.
What year was that?
Which year? Which coach? Which
House of Glory.
That was pretty much from April until December, like end of December 2019, actually.
Amazing Red. Love that guy. People have to give him more flowers for everything he's done for the wrestling business and moves that's been taken out here. So I'm very excited to see you live there in Buda, Texas, because I've been to a few Mission Pro shows and you know, I've seen you wrestle. I've seen Promise Braxton wrestle. I don't know what to expect from Black Widow, but I'm expecting a good triple threat match there. Before we get out of here, since we're uncensored here, you said there were some things that you couldn't mention on camera. Could you like lead us in the way of what maybe one of those things were? Just, you know,
things that I missed in America?
Yeah, because people gonna ask this. She said some things that you couldn't mention on camera, and I know people gonna ask me like, what did she mean? So, is there maybe just a hint you can give the people?
Devil's lettuce.
All right. That would be a big one. If you don't know,
that's the only other one, really. I mean, can't. If anyone's been to Japan, you be knowing what it's like because there ain't none of that here at all. So
I did hear that my dad was stationed over there with the Army, and I've heard stories of that time there. Hopefully, when you get back here, you can get a little devil's lettuce for your appetite or your diet. But let's see.
I gotta get those greens in, gotta be healthy.
I totally understand. I'm totally with that. So the last thing I'm going to ask here before we wrap this up, because we like to keep these short. If, let's say, I know you said you can't wait to get back to Japan. Is your goal to stay working over in companies in Japan, or what? Like, if we look at your outlook in the next 3 to 5 years, pandemic and everything aside, where do you see like the path of your career going to, or want it to go to?
I've done a lot of thinking lately, and by lately, I mean like the last 2 months, because I would have given you a different answer 6 months ago. But to be frank, my outlook at this very moment is either AEW or Japan. Like it's straight up either one or the other. Because I really, if we're talking companies to get signed, I'm currently aiming for AEW, and if it's not that, then Japan has been a place that I love. I absolutely love the style here. I love everything about wrestling here, and the only place to go is up, here or anywhere for that matter.
Going up. I love this. AEW just announced that women's tournament. They said 8 wrestlers from Japan. AEW. I
Well,
mean, I'm just
I've
saying.
been here for a year, AEW, so I'm part of the Marvelous roster officially. I'm also American, so I could play for both teams.
Add her in there. Uh, I am excited one day to see the match between you and Layla Hirsch, though. Two Russians, her style and your style. I was able to see her in October, and I've been watching some of your matches so I can get up to date and everything. And I think that will be a good match. I think you guys we're both wrestling in the same area, so you saying that match hasn't happened is kind of surprising, also.
Yes, indeed. We were from the same area. We're actually both also from Moscow, Russia. So the fact that it's not happened is pretty wild to me and to the world. So 2021, anybody, come on now.
I will say I did a spotlight in November with a certain owner in the New York area, and he did mention both of your names as something that he had thought about doing and said maybe down the line he could. So when you mentioned her name, I was like, there it is. Okay, so hopefully that can happen and we will be able to see that because I expect some good things. But let me tell the people, February 6th, Title Match Network. Sign up, you get 2 weeks for free. You will be able to see Miss Masha Slamovich versus Promise Braxton and Black Widow in a triple threat match. And this may be the first triple threat match for Mission Pro.
It is.
So sign up and you can see it. I don't know who's going hey, I'm not picking. I could probably tell you who might come out on top, but I'm not going to make a choice here. But I can't wait.
Well, if you're not going to tell them, the fans already know. The Twitter community has spoken. It's like, what, 86% said I'm going to win? Clearly, the fans of Mission Pro are some educated fans, and I really appreciate an educated fan base who already knows exactly what they're coming to witness.
She's true. I wasn't going to mention the poll. I did see it also, but she won the poll in overwhelming fashion. So tune in if you're in the area. Come see it. You might see her win in an overwhelming fashion, but that's not. I didn't say that because I don't want no one to get mad at me when everyone else comes to talk to me. But if you was putting your money on somebody, that's all I'm gonna say. Before we leave, is there any last things that you would like to say to let the Mission Pro fans and everyone be ready for what's coming February 6th, and the New Texas Pro people on February 27th? Anything you'd like to let them know?
What I'd like to let know to the Mission Pro fans is I hope you're bringing blinders for your children because I'm coming to Mission Pro to win, to bring violence, to snap some ligaments, some bones, and twist some necks. Because I'm coming to get every single person on that roster, no matter how, no matter what it takes, one by one. I'm coming to pick you apart, and I'm coming to show you why they call me the Russian Dynamite and exactly what I learned in my time in Japan. So I hope you've all been studying, and I hope you've all been preparing because you've only got a couple of weeks left. Now, to the people of New Texas Pro, I don't know who's champion over there, but you're looking at your next champion. So ladies better also be getting ready.
The confidence. I love it. I love all of it. Let's see here. Man, I thank you for giving me this time here, just talking to us about the events. I know the time difference that we have here, but in 2 weeks, can't wait to see you. Can't wait to see everything you bring. And training in Japan, I already know it's going to be just a great match. But other than that, man, I thank you for giving us this time and talking with us. And my closing that I always do to the people is my name is Terry. And like I always say, if I love wrestling and you love wrestling, then we love wrestling. It's too sweet for the
Hi to you.
Hey guys, how you doing? You should be here.
You should.
Shame on you, but have a nice day.